Welcome back to the Gyrl podcast. I'm Kyra. Thank you all for joining. Well, I'm excited to welcome Nicky into the podcast. Welcome.
Thank you, Kyra. Great to be here.
Awesome. Well, before we dive into our topic today, why don't you get started by telling anyone out there listening and watching who you are and what you do?
I appreciate the question. I'm actually originally an immigrant from the Middle East. I'm a Christian from Iran. And when I was 11 years old, the Islamic Revolution took place in Iran. And my late father, God rest his soul, he could see the writing on the wall. This was not going to be a place to raise a Christian family. So what Dad did is he made a plan and he got us out of Iran and settled us where I now live in Toronto, Canada. Now, at the time I was 11, I didn't want to leave my home or my friends. But looking back, Kyra, it was the greatest single thing my father could have done for me or for our family. He took us from a legacy of tyranny to a legacy of freedom. And as a result, I've become a big champion for freedom because I see that inside every human breast beats the living heart of freedom. Every human being wants to be able to chart his or her own path. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to be told what to do. And if you're an entrepreneur, if you're someone who has a dream on your heart that the good Lord put there, you want the freedom to be able to pursue it. And that's what freedom is. That's what free expression is. That's what free enterprise is. It makes all of that possible for us. And we should all be grateful that we get to live in Canada, the United States, and the free West. And freedom still is our birthright. And I know that the history of these places have not always been one where everyone was free. But I can tell you this, compared to everywhere else in the world, and I do mean everywhere, we have been the most freedom-minded. We have been the most tolerant of all major nations. And we've been the only ones that have sought to go back and correct our mistakes. Because most of the folks in the rest of the world don't even think they are mistakes. Mm-hmm. So we need to be very grateful that we get to be here. And we need to fight for this freedom to last beyond our generation. Because the great American president, Ronald Reagan, once said, freedom isn't passed on to the next generation in the bloodstream. It must be nurtured. It must be celebrated. And it must be fought for. Otherwise, within a generation, it will become extinct. And men would say, remember the days in America, in the West, when men and women were once free. We don't ever want that to happen. Coming from tyranny, believe me, we don't ever want that to happen. So that's important. But the second thing I want to just share is about my father. My father is the finest man I've ever known. God bless him. If you knew him, Kyra, and you were looking for work, he would not just say, I'll do what I can. He would sit you down and make phone calls into his network till he got you a job. He would harangue and browbeat people till they got you a job. And he'd say, yo, Kyra, you start tomorrow. Here's the salary. Good luck, right? And that's how it was. And if you were trying to start a business, he would sit with you. He'd plan with you. He'd bring other people to the table to be board of advisors. He'd even get you access to capital, introduce you to some potential clients, tell them to buy from you, stuff like that. And if you were trying to buy a car or a house and he knew you and you didn't quite have enough, he would loan you the balance and he would never let you pay it back. And you just might go, wow, Nicky, who does that? What kind of human being does that? Well, the late, great Nicky Billou, that's who. And you might go, why would he do that? I don't get it. And I tell you, well, first of all, he was a devout Christian. He believed he'd been blessed by God Almighty and his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And it was his duty to share those blessings with other people. Secondly, he did it because he could. He was rich. The man had funds. He had the ability to spread the wealth around to people. And I wanted to be a man like my father. He would come and tell me, Kyra, when I was a kid, son, remember, life is not about money. It's about people. I go, what do you mean, Dad? He goes, that person in front of you, that is someone's mother. That's someone's wife. That's someone's sister. That's someone's daughter. That's someone's husband. That's someone's brother. That's someone's son. That's someone's father. They're a hero to somebody. There's somebody who depends on them. Maybe someone like you let them down once. And they've lost a bit of faith in their fellow man. And it's your job to restore that by the kind of man and woman you are. Believe in people, love people, uplift people. Take them from here to there to everywhere. because life is about that. And my mentor, Mark von Musser, also says to me, Nicky, life is not a numbers game. It's a people game. It's a people game. Everybody needs someone to believe in them, Cara. Everyone needs someone to love on them. Everyone needs someone to show them that they're not alone. So that their greatness gets sparked, because we all have greatness in us. And the only way that greatness comes out, Cara, is when we believe in ourselves enough. And sometimes we don't have that belief. We've been beat up a bit too much by life, and we need someone else's belief to sustain us until our own gets sparked, reignited, and takes us to the stratosphere.
Awesome. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing, especially on such a personal level. Really appreciate that. So I'm definitely really was looking really forward to this conversation, because as an entrepreneur, as a marketer, we talk a lot about thought leadership. And when we connected, I was just like, this is so awesome, because I think a lot of people don't understand the power of thought leadership. I don't think people understand that a lot of times that they are thought leaders. I think people assume that a thought leader should look a certain way, or they should have certain, skill set or certain thing. Well, obviously the skill set, yes, but achievements or things of that nature that makes you like this thought leader. So I'm really glad that you're here today to talk more about that, and just how a lot of my audience who might be listening, who are entrepreneurs themselves, or professionals, and want to learn more about this space. So let's just start with the basics, right? So for anybody who might be saying, yeah, what is thought leadership?
Well, one of my mentors put it this way for me once. An expert is someone who knows something, while a thought leader is someone who's known for knowing something. Experts are a dime a dozen. Thought leaders are rare and valuable. Another way to put it, from another fellow that I interviewed on my podcast, is an expert is like a cover band, while a thought leader plays original music. You think about that for a moment. Becoming a thought leader is about being recognized as the go-to authority in your space. And the challenge is that a lot of people think, okay, that means marketing. That means social media, influencing, trite statements. Be brave, be strong, work hard. That doesn't make you a thought leader to say things like that. To have 1,000 videos on social media doesn't make you a thought leader. If you don't have something valuable to say, something that's designed to solve a problem for someone, like my dad used to say, son, life is about people. In business, you got to solve problems for people, and then you make a profit. Problems, people, profit. That's the purpose of business. Venn diagram, the three of those circles come together. That's the purpose of business. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty darn brilliant. And if, you want to think to yourself, well, am I a thought leader? Well, let me give you an example of a thought leader. Man I worked with. God rest his soul. His name's Carl Kramer. He passed away last summer in August from cancer, way too soon. But before that, Carl Kramer had been a senior executive vice president at a major manufacturing corporation. He made over $350,000 a year. But he was done with that life. He left. He wanted to become a business coach. So he became Carl Kramer, your peak potential's business coach. He was a great dude. And Carl was an old school man. You know what I mean? Like, he had his hair with the old, Brill cream type helmet, from the 50s and 60s and all that jazz. He was always prim and proper and was a good man. And you know what I mean? But there was an old school, old world quality to him that was very endearing. But also, it was very foreign to some of the clients he was trying to reach, right? Because they weren't like him. He was older when I met him. He was 57. And as a coach, he was not happy with his income. He made $7,000 to $8,000 on a good month. On a bad month, less. And he came to us and he said, I would love to just make as much money as I used to make. And we said, okay, Carl, come here. Let's make you a thought leader. Well, first you need to know, like I said, you got to come from the heart, love the people, come there. Because everybody had an issue. And Carl goes, I don't want to be one of those salespeople. And I go, listen, man, let's reframe sales to service. You want to be a service person, right? You want to be an advocate for somebody. Because, Kyra, you don't want to be sold. I don't want to be sold. But don't you love being served by a caring advocate? Someone who has your best interest? Or doesn't that make you feel good? Don't you want to just give him your money? Like that, I trust you, take it, go. And you don't ask questions about how much or whatever because you trust them. And I helped Carl see that, become that. And then I said, Carl, so you're a business coach. Who do you coach? He goes, man, I coach anybody. I'm like, Carl, that's dangerous, man. That's expert way. That's not thought leader way.
Right.
Your focus. He goes, okay, so what should we do? So we had a bunch of sessions with him. This did not happen overnight. I want you to understand this. Like no one can come here and go, I'll be a thought leader as soon as I listen to Nicky for half an hour. No, it's not going to happen like that. All right. Let's just be straight about that. It's like you see a picture of Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime and you go, I'm going to have those muscles first time I go in the gym. Nope. It ain't happening. Right? You're going to need to go and do a few reps for a few months or years before you look like that. So anyways, Carl realized that he needed to narrow his focus. So we helped him pick law firms with a single owner, no partnerships. You know what I mean? One owner, under 2 million a year in sales, eager to grow and scale, and stuck, unable to scale. So the problem was stuck. We were not growing, right? The solution was Carl Kramer, your peak potentials business coach. So we worked with Carl and we had him come in there to talk to these lawyers. And we said, the whole message was scale your practice with no marketing spend. That was the whole message. Scale your practice with no marketing spend. That was pretty good, right? So Carl told him how to do that. And all of a sudden, within 6 months, Carl goes from $7,000 to $8,000 a month on a good month to $40,000 on a bad month and $70,000 on a good month. So that's 10 times what he made before. Now do the math on 40,000 times 12. That's 480,000. That's just shy of $500,000. That's more than he made as a senior executive vice president. Now remember, those jobs you work 60 to 80 hours a week, while as the peak potentials business coach, he worked 20 to 30 hours a week. So he made almost $150,000 more and he worked half as much.
Right.
Now you tell me, that's the power of thought leadership.
Yes.
And Carl was a good man. Carl cared. Carl delivered. We won't work with anybody who's like a charlatan marketer, just wants the cash. We won't work with you. We want people who love on people, believe in people, pour into people. So Carl helped a lot of people win. It was an honor to know Carl. It was an honor to work with him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I love that. I think that's a great story.
Thank you.
So I would say, so I heard some benefits in there, but I'd love for you to share some more benefits of being a thought leader, because just hearing the fact of like, he was still able to pour into people. He was still able to like help people, but he still gained more time for himself to spend with his family. And, he wasn't working 60-hour weeks. So it was like more time back into his life where he could continue to have an impact.
Yes. So I will tell you another story in a moment, but we strongly believe as a thought leader, you get to charge what you're worth. Because most people in the industry of solopreneur, coach, consult, expert, undercharge. So undercharging is a horrible idea for 3 reasons. Reason number one is, well, the obvious one, you're not going to make as much money as you should, and you'll work way too hard and you'll burn out. But reason number two might surprise you. You're actually hurting your client by undercharging. Now, Kyra, did you hear what I said? You're hurting your client.
I'm waiting for the why. Like, yeah.
You're waiting for the punchline, right? You're waiting for the punchline. And she's like,
I got you.
Give it to me, man.
You got me, Nicky.
She's telling me, Nicky, don't make me wait anymore. All right, I'll tell you. So, Kyra, whenever you look to purchase something, let me ask you a question. You see this pen? This is a Mont Blanc pen. This is $1,000 pen. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I may, I'm going to pull out another pen for you, just to demonstrate this point. All right. This is another pen. It is not a Mont Blanc pen.
Right.
I don't know if you can see, but it has a couple of scuff marks on it.
Mm-hmm.
You notice that? It's
Mm-hmm.
not pristine. You see any scuff marks on this Mont Blanc, girl?
Nope.
Now, why is that? I take care of this pen. This is the
Yes.
pen I sign my $20, $50, $100,000 deals, $1 million deals with.
Mm-hmm.
This is just an extra pen lying around in the bowels of my bag, banging around with a bunch of other things. Why do I even own $1,000 pen versus the $5 pen? Because this pen gives me a feeling of being rich and successful.
Mm-hmm.
This pen's just a tank, right?
Uh-huh.
And imagine, Kyra, that you were looking to lose weight. Okay, I'll tell you about myself. Earlier this year, I lost 58 pounds. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to be a top fitness trainer. I used to work with Olympic champions. Then I got out of that field. I got into business coaching, and I took on a new identity that I'm not a fit coach anymore, fitness coach anymore. I'm a fat businessman, right? And I got fat. And one day I looked in the mirror after 12 years of being overweight. And I looked at myself and I go, this is not working. And the reason is because I've been lying to myself and telling myself I know what to do because I can do it. I don't need to pay someone to train me. I've written books on fitness, for crying out loud. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm getting fatter every year. Embarrassing, really, if you think about it. Just like embarrassing to me. And here's what I've made a decision. My decision was I'm done. I am for real going to do something about it. My second decision was I'm going to invest in myself, and I'm going to hire a coach. And I found a coach who'd worked with a lot of people my age, because I'm 56, right? And when I hired this man and I paid him, he was a premium priced coach. You know what I mean? Premium priced coach. It was not cheap. Now, when I hired him, I did everything he said. I didn't argue with him. I didn't back talk to him. I did everything he said to me. I was committed. Now, why is that? I was committed because I put so much money into hiring him. I was going to get a return on my investment. When you charge somebody the appropriate amount of money, they show up ready to work.
Right.
When you charge someone too little, they don't. The $20 books on my shelf on how to lose weight did nothing for me. The $10,000 investment in this coach took me to the next level. You follow what I'm saying? So if you have a client and you really care about your client and you want to see them solve this problem, they won't take you seriously if you undercharge them. Imagine, Kyra, if you were a relationship coach and I came to you and my marriage was going down the tubes, and I said, Kyra, I need help. And you go, Nicky, I'm going to help you. I know how to fix this. I'm going to make that woman fall in love with you all over again, blah, blah, blah. And I go, great, Kyra, I'm game, man. I'm ready. I need her to fall in love with me again. That's it. Let's go. What do you charge? And you said $50. I'm going to go, what? $50? What's she talking about? $50? I wouldn't take you seriously. Now, if you said $50,000, I might go, whoa, that's a lot of money, but I'd take you seriously because that's a serious amount of money by a serious professional. You follow me? When you undercharge, you hurt your client.
Yeah.
So I had a client, a woman. Okay. She was a doctor of natural medicine. And when she worked with us, there was a few things that we helped her with. But the first thing I looked at her, as I looked at her pricing scheme, and I said, what do you charge? And she said, oh, I charge $150 for a 2-hour consult.
Hmm. 2 hours. Yeah.
And I said, no. She says, oh, what should I charge? I said, $500 for a 45-minute consult. She's like, oh my God, that's a lot of money. I don't know if anyone's going to pay. But all those chattering monkeys came up to her, but I finally persuaded her. I was, I'm a persuasive man. I got skills. And she did it. Now, I want to tell you something. The moment she did it, she fourfolded her business. So her prices went up almost fourfold, and she fourfolded the number of people that came into her business. So she had 6 figures come into her business real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Extra. When you undercharge, you burn yourself out, you don't make the money you should make, and you hurt your client because they don't get the result they should get because you don't have the proper level of leverage on them to get them to do the work.
That's very fair. I like that because I think that a lot of people, a lot of business owners, especially service-based, struggle with that because they're all, they're looking at all the other people out there who are like, oh yeah, I'll give it to you. Like you said, like, oh, $50 for this hour or blah, blah, blah. So people sort of feel that, stress of like, oh my gosh, if I don't meet there, then, but I agree with you. I do think like you weed out, the people and you get more focused on the audience and the people that are going to be really the people that you want to work with.
Exactly.
Because like nobody
100%.
wants somebody who's not dedicated to actually achieving a result. We're just going to be spinning around together, just having the same conversations over and over and over. Yeah. Okay. I love that. I love that. What makes a successful thought leader?
Well, that's a really, really great question. And let me answer it by saying to you this. A successful thought leader is one who has discovered a way to commercialize his or her thought leadership and to make a difference for the maximum number of people. So think of it this way. If you're a successful thought leader, you're professionally famous. And I'm going to tell you a story, and I'm thinking you are going to love this story. So there was a young fella. He came to us. And when he came to us, he was struggling in his business. He was a fitness trainer, 25 at the time. And Kyra, he was a good fella. He's the kind of fella that if you met him, you would go, wow, I like this guy. I want to see him be successful. He's good people. Like God put an angel here on earth for all of us to benefit from. If you had a daughter, you'd go tell your daughter, I don't know who that loser is you're dating, but you're going to stop and you're going to go date this fellow over here. You just say, sweetie, you're going to have to trust me on this. Mama knows best. All right. That's what you tell her. Mama knows best. So, but here was a problem. When it came to business, he was a dummy. He didn't know what he was doing. He was making so little money. He was a great trainer, but he made $1,300 a month. He would charge his clients $25 a session. He didn't have a car. He was so broke. He had to bus it everywhere. So he did an hour session for $25, and it would take him like 45 minutes to an hour each way, public transit to get to clients. I mean, he was making like half of minimum wage by the time it was all said and done, right? It was crazy. So he came to me, he goes, I hear you help people like me. I go, yeah, I do. I said, all right, let's sit down. And he said, okay, so what can I do? And I said, all right, let's look at your business. I said, who do you help? And just like Carl, he's like, oh, I can help anybody. Help. I'm the man. Like, oh my God. Oh, no, nobody. Not anybody. Who can you really help? And then he goes, okay, doctors. I go, why doctors? My dad's a doctor. I'm like, okay, good. And then, he said, also doctors, they make a lot of money. I'm like, oh my God, no, it's not about the money. Danny, his name was Dan. Danny, no, I got to do this. I'm doing it. I'm excited. For 6 months, he got 2 clients. And I'm like, okay, Danny, it's not working here. Let's figure something else out. He goes, okay. I got it. I go, what? Cardiologist. I go, what? They make more money than regular doctors. Oh my God, Danny, no, not about the money. Did you not hear me? No, I'm doing. He got 0 points.
Mm.
And then by serendipity, the good Lord sent Danny a man from Cuba, who was an African Cuban fella.
Mm.
And he left Cuba for persecution reasons. We were talking about this earlier. The Cuban government is not too nice to its African Cuban citizens, even those that had won medals at games like he had at the Paralympic Games. So he escaped. He did not want to be in a tyrannical country, and he came to Canada, and he started working with this fella, and he trained him, and he got him into shape, and he won more medals for Canada this time. It was great, right?
Nice.
So then he comes to me and he goes, Nicky, oh my God, I finally get what you've been trying to tell me. I go, tell me, what'd you get? He goes, it's not about the money. I go, yep, it's not. He says, it's about helping the people. He says, yeah, you're right. I felt so good helping this fellow, man. It was great. I loved it. I felt like, he said, okay. He said, listen, here's what I want to do. I said, all right. He says, I want to help people with missing limbs get fit because I know what it takes to get them fit and they need help. He says, there's not a lot of people doing this. I go, yeah, okay, that sounds great. Go for it. Within 6 short weeks, Kyra, he signed up 400 people with missing limbs to his coaching programs.
Wow.
And Kyra, I helped him design those programs so he charged properly. He didn't charge that low, ridiculous amount before. And it was all online because you can't do one-on-one with 400 people. It's crazy. And Kyra, he went from making $1,300 a month to making over $100,000 a month.
That's awesome.
That's the power of thought leadership. Thought leadership comes from the heart. So he's not just a thought leader, he's a heart leader. He serves from the heart. He loves on these people that are hurting and need him. And his message was so much more than I'm going to train you. His message was, I see you, I love you, I'm going to take care of you. You're going to be the best version of you, and you can be and you will be. You imagine how that message went down? That message was beautiful. And it wasn't about the money. When he stopped chasing money, money started chasing him.
Always a true fact. I love that story.
Thank you. Thank you.
So now we've talked about some of the benefits and what makes thought leaders successful, but what are some of the challenges to being a thought leader?
Well, if you're a thought leader, you've got to understand a couple of things. One is that you've been given a mighty responsibility to serve people, to share your gifts, to help people that are hurting. The world is full of hurting people. So you can't say, okay, I'm stepping up, and then say, okay, I don't want to do it anymore. So you better be ready. God will find you with abundance of opportunities for you to be of service. And secondly, you can't rely on whatever it is that worked for you a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. You got to keep thinking, keep innovating. Yeah, the basics in your world probably are going to stay the same, but everybody's looking for new, better, different ways to win. And thought leadership involves doing that.
Yes, I like that. That's so true. I mean, you've got to just always be evolving to be better than before, learning something new. Keep learning, keep growing. And I feel like, yes, those are just some really good, just business tools. I've loved everything about like your stories and this conversation because I feel like there have been some very like tangible tips for my audience to use as it relates to business as a whole. But I think the thought leadership piece, like you've made it very, I think, attainable for a lot of for people, because it has this like mysterious, when you hear thought leadership. But I think like having someone to actually, you're the first person that I've ever really heard, focus on it being heart centered first. And I think that's why a lot of people don't actually succeed in being thought leaders, because they don't, they're thinking about, the money, right? And how I can get the fame and how I can make money and I can do all these things. But I'm right there with you. I feel like when you do the thing that God has called you to do and you lean into that and you're doing it for, like, you're doing it for Him and you're doing it for the people that you're going to serve, like, all the doors, all the favor, all that will come to you.
Amen, sister. Amen.
Awesome. Okay. Let's see. I don't know. I'm like jazzed up by this because it's been such a great conversation, and like I said, I just really appreciate the stories. It's been so good.
Thank you.
Let's talk about how you help people and how anybody listening or watching us, can work directly with you and your team.
Well, I really appreciate the question. We run a number of different programs to be of service to people, but the first thing I always say is, if you like, the way what I'm saying sounds, or if my energy lands with you in a good way, the best thing to do, and I'm old school this way, is for us to jump on a phone call or a Zoom call, just like you and I are doing right now, right? Just let's do that. And what I do is I offer on my calendar some limited times every week where I'll sit down and have a 45-minute, what I call success conversation with you, to map out the roadmap to your success. And it's a free conversation. I mean, I could charge for it, but I don't. And people go, okay, well, there must be a catch, right? You're going to like bait and switch me and try to sell me something at the end. But here's what I'm going to tell you. I don't try to sell you anything. In the call, in the conversation, I'm going to get to know you, and I'm going to give you my heart and soul free of charge. And like I said, I could charge for this and get the money. And if in that call and conversation, the two of us feel a good connection and a vibe, I might tell you how I could help you further. I might not. Half the time I don't, right? Because I don't feel that fit myself. But I will tell you this. I promise you, you'll get someone who cares, someone who's going to love on you and pour into you and believe in you. You're going to leave the call better than you came to the call. That I promise you. So take advantage of that. And the way to do that is the link's ecircleacademy.com/appointment. ecircleacademy.com/appointment. Take advantage of it. It'd be great to be on a phone call with you. And it'd be great to map out a blueprint for your success.
Awesome. Well, we will also drop that link in our show notes as well, so that it's easy for people to access. All right. So I'm thrilled to move into this next section because I want to know even more. So 3 things with Nicky. I'm going to ask you 3 questions, helps the audience get to know you a little bit better. Number 1 is a 2-parter. So the first question is, how do you start and end your day?
So I usually Monday through Friday get up pretty early, 5:30, and I have 2 teenage sons, so they both want to go to the gym, especially the older one before school. So I got a family membership at the local YMCA. So we're out the door. We're at the gym usually by 6, quarter after 6. We do a workout, and then I drop them off at school, and I probably do some more cardio type stuff for myself. After that, while I'm doing my workout, I listen to my business mentor. He has these 2-hour beautiful celebration and training sessions. So I do 2 hours of him every morning. That's kind of how I started. And when I'm done at the end of the day, I usually am relaxing. So what I'll do is I'll, watch something either on YouTube, or maybe I'll watch a part of a show on some like Netflix or Prime, and I'll read a book. That's kind of how I I end off the day. And I'm an avid reader. I've read over 4,000 books in my lifetime. And this year, my goal is to make sure I hit at least 100
Nice.
new books, 101 new books, actually. That is the official target. So we're on
Awesome.
track to do better than that. So
I would love to hear it. All right. Now, number two is around goals. So if you're a goal and intention setter, so I know you've got the book goal, but is there another goal that you set for yourself this year as well?
So, I'm really glad you asked that question. So, we set a goal we call Mission 40. It's our mission to work with 40 entrepreneurs who are committed to adding 6 figures or more to their business.
Mm.
And so, we set this goal recently, and we got 4 people out of the 40 that have signed up with us in the last 10 days, which is wonderful since October started. But that's our goal. We want 40 amazing men and women. And we got this cool challenge, 90K in 90 days, we call it. And if somebody wants to add an extra $90,000 or more to their business in the next 90 days, this is part of what we're pushing to do.
Awesome. I love that.
Thank
And
you.
last is, what is a book, podcast, show, or anything that is inspiring you right now?
That's a great question. So I've been reading the nonfiction books of Winston Groom, and Winston Groom is the man who wrote the book Forrest Gump that became the movie with Tom Hanks. But he's written a whole lot of nonfiction books, historical in nature, writing about history of America and the people that made America great. Like he wrote a book on some of the founding fathers called The Patriots. He wrote a book on some of the pioneers of the aviation industry in America, people like Jimmy Doolittle, who the man who led the famous raid on Tokyo during World War II that helped change the trajectory of the war after they attacked Pearl Harbor. Charles Lindbergh, who was the first man to fly from New York to Paris, across the Atlantic solo. And also Captain Eddie Rickenbacker, who was the leading American fighter pilot ace in World War I, and then once again in World War II, went back to war. So all 3 of these men did that. It's a really cool story, very fascinating stuff. So those are some of the books I've been into lately.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say this has been such a wonderful conversation, Nicky, and I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to join me. Before I let you go, I would love it if you could give the audience 3 things you'd like for them to take away from our discussion today.
So number 1 is believe in your dreams and in yourself, and believe in the people around you that need someone to believe in them, because the fastest way for your dreams to come alive is for you to help other people's dreams to come alive. So that's number 1. Secondly, don't do it alone. The ingredients of success are: make a decision to be successful, commit to it, do what you got to do to get there, get yourself a coach or a mentor, because you're not going to do it alone, and investing in yourself is the most important thing you can do. And be resourceful. Pay whatever price life asks of you, so pay the financial price, pay the energy price, pay the time price, and your goal will come alive. And number 3 is, if you enjoyed this conversation, give Kyra a like, a rating, a review, and share the episode with somebody.
Awesome. I love that. Second, all those. Well, Nicky, thank you so much again. And you can always come back and share with us in the future.
I would enjoy that very much. Thanks so much. You're a great host.
Awesome. Stay tuned, everyone. I'll be right back.